Justin's been a long-standing member, going on, I think you're a little bit after me, so we're almost approaching 2 years on this thing.
Yeah, I know. Time goes by, doesn't it?
And he's also our treasurer, so let's welcome Justin. Cody, Justin.
Evening, everybody. So our visitor, I don't know if any of you have met Charles before. He's come by a couple of earlier meetings, but he's always has a lot of good suggestions about things that we can be doing and has a lot of good feedback. One of the things he pointed out is the meeting themes, and I've seen that on the Easy Speak agenda, and I just frankly have been ignoring it the whole time. I wonder what that's about. So he explained it, and he suggested that we use a meeting theme. He challenged me to move a little outside of my comfort zone. So I have a suggestion for a theme tonight, and that's the city of Mobile, as we've got a great city. So if you can incorporate that into a table topic or your speech or someplace else, just work that in. So moving on then, we'll describe the roles, especially for the benefit of our guests that we have tonight here. Starting out with Diego. Diego, could you explain the role of General Evaluator?
Hi everyone, I'm Diego. I'm going to be the General Evaluator for this Toastmasters meeting today. Essentially, the General Evaluator is concerned with introducing the speech evaluators and also giving a general idea and discussion on how the meeting was run today, some improvements that could be done, some positive moments in the meeting today. That's the essential role of the General Evaluator.
Okay, and then Susan is handling the odd counter grammarian role tonight.
Am I doing on counter or are you?
I was just handing you this.
Oh. Okay. The odd counter is this really kind of interesting thing that you may hear if you say a filler word like ah, so, which I can definitely do myself quite a lot. Also, grammarian is the person who takes note of the way you speak and if you have any of these filler words and how many repeats or anyway. Surreptitious is the word of the day, and that means done in a way to avoid being noticed, underhand, not straightforward. If you can use that during the course of the speech, then you get the grammarian counts that in your favor.
Okay, thank you, Susan. And John's handling the table topics tonight. John, you want to explain what the
That's
table
correct.
topics
So
are?
what I'll do is give some ideas for discussion. There may be an opportunity for me to pick on somebody tonight, but it's all in fun. And it will enable somebody an opportunity to come up and speak freely, ad hoc, so to speak, impromptu, and I guess practice your speaking skills that way. You'll have a minute to get your point across. Who's the timer, by the way?
Oh, thank you. I knew we were missing a role there.
I can be timer.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll have a minute to respond to whatever it is I present. And that will be, well, I'll let the timer go into that. A minute to 2 minutes to respond to anything that I've come up with.
Okay, thank you. So one more role. Diego is also our timer this evening. Thanks for catching that.
So the timer's responsibility is to let the speaker be aware of how long they are at the lectern. It's important to not only communicate your ideas very clearly and thoroughly, but also in a succinct and time-efficient manner. So the prepared speeches, I understand tonight, range between 5 to 7 minutes, with 5 minutes being the green marker, 6 minutes being the manila marker, and 7 minutes being the red marker. And whenever you see the red marker, that's an indicator of you should wrap up your ideas and suggestions within 30 seconds. The table topic sessions are 1 minute for green, 1.5 minutes for manila, and 2 minutes for the red marker.
All right, thank you, Diego. So, John, one other thing I'll point out, since we have one speaker tonight, we might let the table topics, or let's let the table topics just run a little long to fill up that
Okay,
space.
I think I can do that.
And I don't think we're going to have an education overview or awards tonight. So we'll use
Okay.
that to fill up
Hopefully I don't
that
run out.
space.
I've got several.
I'm sure you
We'll see
can
how
come
it
up with a
goes.
couple on the fly there. Count on you for that. So our speaker tonight is Rosemary, and she will be speaking on, she's doing her second speech, Organize Your Speech, your second speech, is that right, Rosemary? And the title is Living Simply. Rosemary?
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guest, much like you, I am a lover of personal growth. And one of the things that I periodically do is I like to re-examine my philosophies, how I'm living my life to ensure that they're in line with my core principles and the goals I want to achieve. And I had a realization about 4 years ago that led me to one of those moments of re-examination. I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas at the time, driving around town, listening to a podcast, and I'm a lover of podcasts, I don't know if y'all listen to them. And it's a podcast that every week, every time they have an episode come out, it's on a different topic. And at that time, the topic was on minimalism. At that point, that was a perfect timing for the idea of minimalism being placed into my life. The foundation had somewhat been set to where I could not only accept the idea and not scoff at the idea of minimalism, but I could also implement it into my own life. So what is minimalism? If you Google it, read all the blogs, watch documentaries, read books. There's books from Japan, the Americas, Europe, everywhere. There are variations on the elevator speech. I like to say minimalism is getting rid of the excess, getting rid of the unnecessary. And it ranges from, you don't have to be, some people think of minimalism as, okay, you have to wear a potato sack and live frugally, live out of your car, own nothing, you can't do anything fun. But it really just depends on how you want to use it as a tool in your own life. I've met people that they have chose to own only enough that will fit in their backpack. They don't want to own any more than that. I admire it. I can't do that. Not right now. Maybe decades down the road, but not right now. It's impressive. It's very impressive. And then there are those that are minimalists that have a typical middle-class life, have a house in a suburb, have a bunch of kids, maybe that's not typical, but have kids and a car, yet they still have a minimalistic outlook on life. And I have my own guidelines and my own rules to it as well that fit my needs. So there are a multitude of benefits for being a minimalist. And you can want to save a bunch of money, declutter your life. You are just freer from the concept of consumerism that we all live in, especially here in the US. And I'm going to share with y'all my greatest joys of being a minimalist. One of them is it's so easy to clean my house. I am OCD, not clinically diagnosed by any means, but I like things in a certain way. I like my environments to be clean. And when I talk about my environments that I can control, at least 90% and above. So my home, my car, my office, I like it to be clean. I like to come home to a clean house, my bed made, just no clutter anywhere. And going back to 3-4 years ago, I had a 3-bedroom house, 2.5 baths. It was myself and a roommate. And literally the whole house was furnished with my stuff. Like the living room, all 3 bedrooms even. She was using my bed. Why did I have all that stuff? I was like, oh, I have guests coming over. I need to, support them for when people come over, and all the things I was seeing everybody else do, I was doing myself. I had closets full of clothes and shoes. It was just unnecessary. And eventually, I finally realized from that podcast how much stuff I had and how much I did not need it. And along with that podcast, I realized, okay, I am focusing a lot of my energy into connecting with things versus connecting with people in the outside world. And I'm really not a shopper. I hate shopping. I'm not particularly materialistic, so I couldn't imagine someone who was those things, what their house looked like. So that is a huge joy. My house is so easy to clean out. There's less furniture. I can fit everything I own into a Toyota Tundra, and it's really freeing. I can move, I'm incredibly mobile. Another joy I get from being a minimalist is, much like Diego, a huge passion of mine is protecting the environment. With being a minimalist, you are not adding to the demand that consumerism brings, which by reducing how much stuff you own, and trying to buy the latest and greatest things, you are not increasing the demand of depleting resources from the planet, creating more factories to make more things. It's just a snowball effect. And I truly believe if more people did this, there would be a lot less harm being done to the planet. So that's another joy of mine. I truly believe the mindset and philosophy of minimalism goes beyond just material possessions. For me, that was the gateway into becoming a minimalist, was getting rid of a bunch of stuff. But I also believe it can apply to anything from, let's say, language, increasing your vocabulary bank. This is applicable to Toastmasters, increasing your vocabulary bank so you can speak with brevity and clarity. Also, ladies, beauty. Right now, this whole contouring makeup trend is killing me. It's just so much makeup. It's like, to me, just enhancing what you already have versus creating a whole new face has a lot more elegance, and it's a lot more simple. Also, in architecture, instead of just building according to conventional ways of what's always been done, be a little bit more mindful, a little bit more purposeful, into where you don't have to use huge HVAC systems. Maybe design the building to where it can air condition itself through airflow, and more passive home and building techniques in there. With that, all that being said, not only does living minimally help reduce strain on the environment and declutter your life, it frees you from falling into the trend of connecting with things, and frees you from certain assumptions that have been built into your upbringing. And it allows you to connect with people, connect with nature, connect with the world around you, and live a more purposeful life. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you.
Diego,
Mm-hmm.
what was that?
8 minutes and 3 seconds.
Rosemary, that was great. Along those lines, I have one personal rule that I try to follow, and that's if I bring something in, something has to go out. So it's just continue to pile on. May or may not stick to that very well. Thank you for that. So John is going to be running the next part of the meeting here. He's going to be handling table topics for us. John?
Thank you, Justin. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, I've been asked to be the table topic master tonight. And I'll start off, I understand we have a little bit extra time tonight, so I'm going to change my agenda a little bit and start off with, pardon me, got to see this. July 16th, which is today, this day in history. In 1935, the world's first parking meter was installed. Can somebody come up here and tell me, is this a good thing or a bad thing, and why?
All right, thank you, John. So John posed a great question. Is the parking meter a good thing or a bad thing? And I'll just give my personal opinion on it. I was listening to a podcast recently about parking meters and about parking and how it influences our architecture and the layouts of our cities. And one of the big evils from the point of view of this, and I mostly agree with this, is free parking. So we have all of this free parking, and everybody thinks parking should absolutely be free. But you're taking up land, and you're taking land and you're putting pavement down to have this parking available. And it's shaped all the cities in America to have parking free and available in front of every place that you go, whether it be your house, someone else's house, the place of business that you're visiting. And you know, when we can't find a good parking place, or we have to pay for a parking place, most of us are angry about it. But we have to realize that that comes with a great cost to both to have those parking spaces there and to have that land tied up. And I think a free market, it makes much more sense to be paid for that space and have the free market decide how much of this land is used for parking a car. Mr. Toastmaster. Mr. Hopkins first.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for those comments. Again, is this a good thing or a bad thing, and why? This day in history, 1995, Amazon opens for business. Anybody care to comment? Cody.
So a man set out to sell people everything, the everything store. Started out just selling books, and now has expanded into this massive company. And on today, which is significant, is Prime Day, which you can get on Amazon right now if you're a member of Jeff Bezos' club, and get nice discounts on a bunch of electronics and clothing you probably don't need. So I think it's good in ways that enables the kind of long tail of consumers. Before you go into, let's say, Home Depot and stores like that, you wanted to buy, say, a birdhouse. You had two options. You could get this birdhouse with a plastic blue roof or a plastic red roof. Amazon and other online stores like it enable people to get, small quantities of items that would make it into a larger retailer and get more variety in their shopping. So that's been a really nice feature of it. But it's also created kind of a conglomerate, and it's kind of scary to see to think where Amazon could go if someone else takes the reins and maybe doesn't play as nice as Jeff Bezos and could basically put out every small company and then control how we buy things, which kind of scary to think about. So I think right now it's good, but it could turn bad in the future. Thank you, Mr. Top Master.
Again, is this a good thing or a bad thing, and why? This day in history is 1790. Congress declares Washington, D.C. the new capital. Would anyone care to comment?
Fellow Toastmasters, I was asked, is Washington D.C. a good thing to be declared as the new capital? Considering the fact that the capital is so small, it is 1/3 the size of Mobile, Alabama, and it's also 1/3 increase its population. It's 70,000 in population, but the size is 70-something miles like that. It's overly populated. It's under income for a lot of people. It's a lot of poverty, a lot of people living on the streets. Homes are stacked on top of each other. So, my opinion is it's not a good forum for the capital of the United States. Thank you.
Good job, Sam.
Thank you.
Nervous.
Switching gears a little bit. There's a saying that the difference between involvement and commitment is like that of a chicken or a pig at breakfast. A chicken is involved, a pig is committed. When it comes to life, which are you, a chicken or a pig?
Wow, double dipping.
Fellow Toastmasters, I am asked, am I a chicken or a pig? The chicken is involved and the pig, repeat that.
Committed.
Is
Committed.
Well, as far as this Toastmaster class, I am definitely committed. I am not as involved because of nerves, but hopefully over time that will subside and I will become more of a chicken. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just been brought to my attention that our illustrious Toastmaster tonight has been involved in some surreptitious behavior. Justin Gish has been accused of stealing a pig from Diego's front yard. Would somebody like to please step up here and give a character witness, or be a character witness for Justin? Not all at once.
Nobody wants to be a character.
Sure, come on up. It's all for fun.
Thank you, sir. Say whatever the heck you want.
Toastmasters. I've been asked to speak on whether or not John Gish is a thief of a pig, right? Is that correct? I don't believe he is. From what I know about him, he seems to be a straightforward kind of guy. Look at him, he looks like a young boy, except for the hair that gives him away. And you know, the way he smiles and he looks straight at you, I wouldn't think he'd steal a pig. Now Diego, on the other hand, he's a little lax in his pig protection. I think the pig just got loose. And Justin found the pig, brought it to his home, and when Diego went to look for him, that's where he found him. He thought he stole it. So I think it was a mistake in thinking that Justin stole the pig because of where the pig was located once Diego noticed that it was lost. And Diego didn't own up to the fact that he was the reason the pig got away. So I believe Justin is innocent. And that's all I would say.
Okay. With that being said, Rosemary, this is your last day here, right?
Yes.
So I have to pick on you. So having had all-you-can-eat pork chops and bacon pie at Justin's home recently, can you add any information to the situation to help clear this whole matter up?
One thing, I want to thank you so much for the unlimited pork chops and bacon pie. I've never had that before, so just thank you for your generosity and hospitality. One thing that's missing from the story is there's a next door neighbor that lives behind both of them that is a competitor to Diego, who also raises pigs and sells them and slaughters them. Gosh, that got gruesome. Okay. And no one questioned him. You would think that that would be the first guy that someone would ask about a competitor. That's suspect number one, right? And we're still talking about Justin serving me bacon and pork chop pie, thinking he's a suspect, when we still haven't even questioned the guy behind Diego. And understandably, Diego and Justin the other week had a little tiff, so maybe they're just not on good terms at this moment. So Justin was on the forefront of Diego's mind. But I really think we should question the guy that lives behind them. I think he's truly the guy that took the pig. Mr. Toastmaster.
How are we doing on time, gentlemen? Do one more? One more?
Can I go and claim it?
I'm sorry?
Can I go and claim the next table topic?
Sure. Would you like to create it as well? Let me come up with something here. Talking about pigs, right? So a pig is a perfect example of something that is not a minimalist, in my opinion. A pig will consume anything you put in front of it. A pig will destroy anything you put in front of it. Is there a way that you could look at a pig in a different point of view as a minimalist?
Does anyone else want to take this question? I want to invite anyone else. It was very hasty, Mark. And I want to be sure to share the opportunity with everyone.
Topic master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. What is a way to look at a pig as a minimalist? First off, I want to keep with the theme as much as possible. City Mobile. And I'll throw in an example of, and it doesn't matter who's in office, but it happens all the time. People spending excess money for projects that are not needed. So a way to make a pig a minimalist is to actively minimize what you put in front of it, in front of its snout, in front of its mouth. That may have to be done surreptitiously, but if you minimize the quarters that the pig lives in, and you minimize what it is fed, you can involuntarily make the pig a minimalist. Mr. Topic Master.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, that concludes our session for table topics this evening. I will now relinquish the lectern back to you, Toastmasters.
All right. Thank you. That's great. So that was an interesting little variation on the topics. I hadn't seen anybody approach it quite like that. It was refreshing to have something a little different. And I have no idea what I would do with live pig. Where to start. So it wasn't me. So from there, we'll move on to the evaluation portion. And Diego's our general evaluator for tonight. He'll be running that portion of the meeting. Diego.
Thanks, Justin. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I've had the great pleasure of being the evaluator for this very interesting agenda that we've had today, that we've all experienced at our Toastmasters meeting today. I think it was really good that we started on time, and we only had, I think, at max one officer position not filled at the moment of the meeting. So that's a really great job on everyone using Easy Speak ahead of time to indicate I'm going to be taking on this role, and I will be attending the meeting at this time. I also appreciated Cody's flexibility in the surreptitious club business that I introduced into the meeting agenda, about talking about what are some great outreach opportunities for our club and increasing our branding opportunities here in the community of Mobile. Rosemary did an excellent job on her second speech, and we're really grateful that she was able to. It's going to be a heartfelt goodbye, but with much bittersweet feelings attached to it as well. And then again, I can't help but tip the fedora in John's direction for what a great table topic session we had today. And I'm looking forward to the next time that John leads another table topic session. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to the first evaluator of our speech, and that is Cody. Is that right?
Thank you, Diego. Thanks for the introduction, Diego. So I have the privilege of evaluating Rosemary's last speech at Hilltoppers Toastmasters. I didn't know it was your last meeting today, but no. So she's speaking out of the Competent Communicator Manual, and this is number 2, which is organizer speech. So the goal of this speech is to have kind of a organized speech, body, intro, and conclusion. So I'm going to go through the categories of the rating from the evaluation. Speech value, I thought it was good speech value. I like the fact that you gave us all these different definitions of minimalism, which I hadn't heard before. So a lot of information was interesting, and I think it held everybody's attention, so good job. You were very well prepared, I feel like. I didn't see you using notes. You had good eye contact, seemed confident in the speech. Organization, so was it logical and clear? Yeah, I think this speech flowed pretty well. Opening. For the opening, it was a little confusing for me. Just kind of how you started it. I didn't quite get where it was going until you started talking about minimalism. So I think maybe kind of going right into that to kind of, or I don't know, just for me, maybe other people got it, maybe it was just me that was a little confused in the beginning. But when you start talking about minimalism and the definition, I was like, okay, this is where it's going. And everything else flowed really well after that. For the body, like I said, great information, detailed examples. I liked all the different definitions of minimalism, not just the typical ones you hear. And for the conclusion, I thought it was effective. You ended well, and you left us with a nice recap of what you wanted us to take away. Transitions were pretty solid. Just like I said with the introduction, I just couldn't quite get a kind of a hard into the intro and then into the body. What could the speaker have done differently to make the speech more effective? Same thing. It's a little confusing in the intro, but once minimalism was defined, the speech went really well understood. And what did I like about this presentation? I like how you started out relating the audience. So like you said, I'm sure all of you are into improving yourselves, which is a good observation because we probably are being in this club. So immediately kind of engage the audience and, oh yeah, so we have this in common, and that helps to get everyone's attention. Good vocal energy. I can sense your passion about the subject matter, which is always great. Good body language was very appropriate for the speech, and the pitch of your vocals was really good. So all in all, great second speech, and sorry to this is your last speech with us. Hope to hear more from you, but I'm sure you'll continue on with Toastmasters in your next location and knock out the Competent Communicator. So thank you, Rosemary. Yeah.
Thanks, Cody. Now we're going to hear the timers report, the grammarians report, the all counter. So Susan, please let us know how we did.
As the grammarian, I did not keep the time because
No, I took care of the time. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah,
okay.
yes, ma'am.
So I'll get those from you just for the minutes.
Great.
And so and then I handed over the all counter, which I continued to talk about. I continued to listen for some of those words. I'm sorry about that, but I just didn't click. We didn't click. We didn't talk about this. So anyway. Justin, when you got up to speak, everyone did very well tonight. There were very few that I noticed filler words. Justin said so once and you know.
Mm-hmm.
That was all I heard. Cody, once you know. Sandra, so. Susan Johnson, and so. But you did a great job. And thanks for getting up on your second time here. This is your second time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great job. And then what a strange topic for you. John said so, Maurice said so, and Diego, I believe you may have said or so. Anyway.
Okay.
And you used the word of the day. Someone else, Maurice used the word of the day. Did anyone else use the word of the day? And I did not note that. John, thank you for using the word of the day. That concludes my grammarians.
Great, thanks, Susan. So what I have to report, and I used the fill word just now. So you can click at me if you want to.
Click.
Well done. Rosemary's speech was 8 minutes and 3 seconds, so a minute over the red marker, but that's fine. We all have our moments of where we're really captivated and we want to communicate our message across, and sometimes the 30-second mark is just not enough to cut it.
So much for minimalism there.
Just kidding.
Justin's table topic speech lasted 1 minute and 19 seconds. Cody's table topic speech lasted 1 minute and 36 seconds. Sandra's first table topic speech lasted 57 seconds. And then Sandra's second table topic speech lasted 32 seconds. Susan Johnson's speech on table topics lasted 1 minute and 5 seconds. Rosemary's table topic speech lasted 1 minute and 14 seconds. And finally, Maurice's table topics speech lasted 1 minute and 5 seconds. So everyone, well done with keeping track of the table topics time limit, and especially excellent work on Susan and Sandra's part for stepping up to the plate this time as a guest. I'm going to turn it back to the Toastmaster.
Diego, great job. Well, 7:41 and some change, so we did real well on the time. I think we did a good job for tonight's meeting. Appreciate the attendance by our guests. Hope that you return and join us for another meeting. And that concludes our meeting for tonight. Thank you. Do I need to introduce you back? Do you finish up? Yeah. Let me put Cody up here.
I just want to echo what Diego said about Easy Speak. Good job at starting to use it. It does make this agenda a lot better when we have everyone already filled on it. So just keep up that good work. Trying to get it. I know it's hard to remember to get on there. The only reason I did it consecutively is because I was the secretary, so I just do the Facebook and then make sure I was on Easy Speak. But yeah, try to get on there sometime during the week, and also echo Lawrence from last week. If you want to do a role, you can go ahead and apply for it in the future meetings, also for speeches. So technically, if you're a competent communicator like Rosemary, you could go ahead and schedule every speech all the way through 10 if you wanted to.
Can I have one thing?
Yeah.
And if you do visit Easy Speak in the future, and it's not a very user-friendly site, so if you have any questions on like how to RSVP to these meetings, feel free to grab one of the officers. We know how to run it, or just ask me. I'm happy to show you all.
Can I make a comment as well? It made it really easy. I don't know if everyone's getting this, but I only received an email once to RSVP, and that made it really easy for me to do. If I don't get an email, I'm not going to think about it.
Yeah, that's because Lawrence took back over. and I was doing it the last couple months. That's
So
probably
I think,
not.
yeah,
I
think
probably
that
wasn't clicking a button that I
email-
needed to. Like Diego said, it's
I don't know
not.
if there's a way to automate it, but if there's just an email that can go out to where it links you to Easy Speak, that made it. I know I'm lazy, but it helps lazy people.
You're a minimalist.
I'm a minimalist, so I
So yeah, that's
flooded
what.
with
So Lawrence is like auto-generating the meetings now, and then he hits a button and then it emails. So we weren't doing that, or I wasn't doing that. But,
I have a question.
yeah, sure.
Now that we're having minutes on the meetings, when would those be? Are those going to be presented during the course of the meeting, or are they just lay around in the?
Well, I got your email, and what I was thinking we could just. So I'll get everyone's email address, and then we'll just have a Toastmaster mass email, and you can just email it. So I'll send you all those email addresses and just email it to everyone.
Okay.
And then that way, it's stored at least in an email client. I think we can. Yeah, I'll look into that though. I think Lawrence mentioned there's a way to send, or we're supposed to send it to international or something, so I'll look into that and see if that's a thing. I think that's fine. Everyone can just read over it and, you know, if you see anything that you didn't agree with or whatever, you can let Susan know and she can make an edit to it.
I just wondered about, since we're sort of doing Robert's Rules of Order, I don't know if we do that or not. Do the meetings have to be approved? And
Like voted on,
Yeah,
that's voted
yeah.
on.
that's typically the way
Yeah,
things go
yeah,
in
that's true.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think, so yeah, we could do that in the business, so if everyone, so we'll get it before, you know, not to try to put too much pressure on you to, but, you know, a few days before, give everybody a chance to read it, and then we'll just open, it's like, does everyone agree to the minutes from last meeting? And then we'll say yea or nay.
I bet there's, I don't know this for a fact, but I bet there's a way to put notes in on the meeting in Easy Speak. And I know there's a email all members through, I think both Easy Speak and Toastmasters. One or the other for sure.
We'll figure it out, something, I'll look into that this week and
Okay.
figure out the best way to email everyone. All right, that will end our meeting for today, thank you everyone.